Oh boy, the UFC heads back to the Apex this weekend in 2025. The Apex. It's kind of a banger card. There's a few good fights on here. There's a few really good fights on here. We'll talk about them. This is my official prediction and breakdown going into that card. Manel Kape versus Almabayev. Of course, this was supposed to be Manel Kape versus Brandon Royval. It's a shame we lost that. But let's get this started with the early prelims, or just the prelims because it's an Apex card. I am going to be looking down at my phone because I got notes on here, so don't mind me. Charles Johnson versus Ramazan Temirov. I'm terrible with pronunciation. You guys know this. Charles Johnson, he's on a 4-fight win streak, and he has impressive wins in his little resume here, like Joshua Van and even Jake Hadley, just to name a few. He also has some really weird losses, like to Ode fucking Osborne. So, he has 7 KOs, which is kind of crazy as a flyweight, because, you know, flyweights don't really get KOs. So that's definitely a factor here. Ramazan is on a 10-fight win streak. He hasn't lost since 2019, and he's finished 12 of his 18 opponents, which again is crazy at flyweight. I think he's pretty well-rounded, and I don't see Johnson KOing him. I think he has a decent chin. This one's kind of tricky. This is immediately a tricky fight to bet on. I'm gonna go Ramazan Terimov, probably by a decision. I just think he's a little bit better, and no, it's not because his name ends in ov. Oh God, Montana De La Rosa versus Luana Carolina. A woman's fight with 2 mediocre women. These are never fun to predict. Montana De La Rosa is coming off a split decision win against Andrea Lee. Before that, she lost 3 in a row. And Luana Carolina is on a 3-fight win streak, so I suppose she's better. She makes more sense to win this fight, which is probably why Montana will get it done by decision. But I am going to be logical and go with Luana Carolina. If Montana wins this fight by decision, I am just going to go with the opposite of what I think from now on with women's fights. But moving on, Danny Silva versus Lucas Almeida. This is actually a tough fight as well. It's actually a pretty good one. Danny Silva has a great record, and he's on a 3-fight win streak. His last win was against Joshua Kalibau, which isn't bad at all. And it was a split decision, but that's still pretty good to have that win on your resume. Lucas Almeida is coming off of a win, but before that, he was on a little bit of a loss streak. He did lose to Andre Fili and Pat Sabatini, who aren't bad by any means. He's a finisher. Only one of his fights that he's won has gone the distance. I do think that's a factor that he's gotten a lot of finishes, and I do lean his way if there's going to be a finish in this fight. But I think Danny Silva is just on a pretty good run right now, and I think he's going to be able to avoid getting finished in this one and get it done. I am going Danny Silva. Maybe a TKO, but probably a decision, because it's the Apex. There's a lot of decisions usually. I'm going Danny Silva. Oh, here she is. Andrea Lee versus JJ Aldrich. Another mediocre women's fight. Andrea Lee is on a crazy 5-fight losing streak. She's trying to match Tony Ferguson's record, peoples have it. Every one of those losses by decision, so I wonder how this fight's gonna end. Her last win was back in 2021. She's 36, where JJ Aldrich is only 32 and has lost to okay names like Veronica Hardy, even Erin Blanchfield. I do think JJ Aldrich is better, but it's again a woman's fight, so you never know. I'm still going JJ to get this one done by, you guessed it, a decision. Douglas Silva de Andrade versus John Castaneda. This is a banger. These guys are both quite good. Douglas is coming off of a loss to Miles Johns, who's pretty good. He has lost a few fights, but let's look at the names here. Said Nurmagomedov, Lerone Murphy, Peter Yan, and Rob Font. That's crazy. He has 22 finishes and 29 wins. He's got KO power, but he is 39 years old now, which is basically ancient. John Castaneda's solid. His last time out, he lost to Daniel Marcos. He has decent wins. He's actually beat Miles Johns, but this was before Johns beat Douglas. He's got a lot of finishes as well, like 14 and 21 wins, which is pretty good. I do think this is a compelling fight. I know Castaneda is the younger guy. I know he's good. But I'm going Douglas Silva de Andrade to get a KO in this one. I think he's got a lot more experience. I think he's got a lot more finishing potential. I just think he's going to be able to get it done. Ricardo Ramos versus Chepe Mariscal. Ricardo Ramos is coming off a win against Joshua Kalibau. Again, that's crazy. That's 2 fighters on this card. He has a lot of submissions in his career, but he's facing Chepe Mariscal, who I think is going to get past him fairly easily. Mariscal's on a crazy run right now, 7 wins in a row. He's beat guys like, let's see, Damon No Hairline Jackson, Morgan Charrier, which is a good win, Jack Jenkins, even though it was a fluke, he broke his arm, but that's a good win to have still. Those are good wins. I think he's a good fighter, and I think he's going to cruise his way to a clear decision in this one. I think he's just better. Then we have Danny Barlow versus Sam Peterson. Undefeated Danny Barlow. He's 9-0, coming off 2 UFC wins. He has 4 finishes in those 9 wins. He's facing Sam Patterson. Did I say Peterson? I might have said Peterson. It's Sam Patterson. And Sam Patterson's pretty good in his own right. He's got back-to-back wins. He has really good submissions. 7 of his 12 wins coming by that way, which is pretty crazy. This one's kind of tough because I don't know a ton about Danny Barlow. I think he's looked good in his UFC run, and he probably will get it against Sam Patterson here. I'll pick Danny Barlow. I know he's a favorite in this one. Again, I don't know a ton about him. Sam Patterson's not bad by any means. Let's go Danny Barlow, though. I do think he has a bit more of an edge in this fight. Hyder Emil versus William Gomez. I am very surprised this is on the Apex card, by the way. Hyder Emil's undefeated. He's won his 2 UFC fights by TKO, 7 finishes and 10 wins. He is already 34, which is very unfortunate for like a prospect. He's definitely good, but he's facing William Gomez, who, again, I'm just really surprised they have him on the Apex card because he kind of shows out and people do know who William Gomez is. He's on a 12-fight win streak and coming off a win against Joe Anderson Brito, who I thought was like a dark horse in this division. It was a close fight, but the fact he made it close says a lot, and he did get the win on the judges' scorecards, and I think it wasn't very controversial, so that's a big factor. So far during his run, he kind of just does enough to win. Like, he's not the most exciting, but his striking is good, and he always does more than his opponent, and I think there's going to be no difference here. I think William Gomez will cruise to a decision, just outpoint him, stuff any takedowns. I think he's going to get it done. Austin Lane versus Mario Pinto. Austin Lane just isn't that good. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. He loses to powerful strikers, guys like Justin Taffa. Imagine losing to Justin Taffa. And Jonata Dinez. He did surprisingly beat Robelis to Spain, just outstriking him and kind of just controlling him with takedowns and grappling. He is a very large man, but he's facing Mario Pinto, who's making his UFC debut after a first-round KO on the Contender Series. He's way younger than Austin Lane, but he's similar in size. I think Lane could pull this one off in like a fluky type of manner. I don't know, heavyweights are like the women's division. You never really know. And he has a lot more experience. But I just don't think he's good. So, although we haven't seen a lot from Mario Pinto, I'm going to go with him to get this one done by an early rounds TKO, probably KO. We'll see. I'm going Mario Pinto. I don't know if that's bold. I think he's actually the favorite, which, sure, we'll go with it. Oh my god, banger alert. Nasrat Haqparast versus Esteban Ribovic. This is a banger, and these guys are savages. I have no idea how this is on an Apex card. Haqparast is on a decent little 4-fight run right now. His last win was over Jared Gordon, where I honestly scored it for Jared Gordon. Mans is getting cooked by the judges 24/7. He's dangerous. If you're not going to a decision with him, he's KOing you. He's a good striker and he's gritty, but so is Esteban Ribovic. He's coming off a win in one of the best fights I've ever seen against Daniel Zellhuber at UFC 306 in the Sphere. That fight was an absolute banger. If you haven't took the time to watch it, you need to. He has crazy KO power, crazy cardio. He puts on a crazy pace. That fight against Zellhuber says a lot about that in general. And I do think he's just better than Nasrat Haqparast. I think this fight's going to be an absolute banger. And if I'm being honest, I just don't think Nasrat will be able to take the shots that Zellhuber was getting hit with. I'll go Ribovic by TKO because I don't think he's going to be able to handle some of those shots he was landing on Zellhuber. Cody Brundage versus Julian Marquez. How did Cody Brundage go from UFC 300 main carder to UFC Apex co-main event? What a fall off. I'm just kidding. That was a disgrace. How did he even make it on 300? Both of these guys are not good. The best thing I've seen Cody Brundage do is shuck off Bo Nickel. He does have some power, I'll say that much. And he's well-rounded for like a terrible fighter, I guess. Julian Marquez is older. He's lost his last 3 fights. Granted, it's to decent guys like Gregory Rodriguez, Marc-Andre Barrios, and Zachary Reese. His last win was against Sam Alvey. I'm pretty sure I've knocked out Sam Alvey. So, Brundage showed up as an underdog on my screen. I don't know if that's a mistake. But give me Cody Brundage to get this one done. Probably by, I don't even know. Maybe a decision. Maybe an early round submission. TKO. One of those. Obviously, I just named all the ways you can win a fight. Give me Brundage by DQ. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going with Brundage. What a terrible fight that no one will probably be watching. Then we move on to the main event. Manel Kape versus Asu Almabayev. This is a tricky one. The odds on this are kind of crazy. Manel Kape's a big favorite, and even when he was supposed to fight Roy Val, he was a big favorite, which is crazy in recency bias because he looked really good against Bruno Silva. That being said, he did get caught a lot by Bruno Silva. I think Bruno Silva hits harder than Asu Almabayev, though. And as good as he looked against Bruno Silva, before that he lost to Muhammad Mokaev because Mokaev is just so boring. But no matter how boring he is, he's a great grappler. He is a great fighter. And also Almabayev's also a good grappler, and if he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to implement his grappling heavily in this matchup because Manel Kape's just too fast, he's too precise, he's got great combos, he's got great finishing potential even at flyweight. But my problem with this is that Asu Almabayev, he just doesn't have the power to put down Manel Kape. And yes, he may grapple him, he may control him, he may get a few takedowns. Manel Kape's got good takedown defense and good scrambles. We saw even against Bruno Silva, and I know Almabayev's probably better than Bruno Silva. But Manel Kape did not get caught by a takedown once. He easily stuffed him, and when they were on the feet, he punished Bruno Silva. Think he's going to do a lot of that in the same, and I can honestly see him getting a TKO in like round 4 in this one. I think Manel Kape's just better. That being said, Asu Almabayev's wrestling does scare me because looking at the screen here, he had 14 takedown attempts against CJ Vergara and 11 against Jose Johnson. That's alarming, but I just don't think it's going to do much to Manel Kape. I think he has good stamina. I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be too quick. I think he's going to be too good on the feet, and he's just going to be able to control Almabayev, put him down, put that puppy down, give him some anesthesia or whatever. Manel Kape, 4th round TKO, making his claim for the title. They honestly might just give him a title shot after that because flyweight's so cooked. But I would love to see him fight someone like a Kai Kara-France. I think they're going to do Pantoja versus Kara-France, though. Whatever. That's for another day. Those are my predictions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know who your locks of the cards are, and see you next time. Have a good one. Peace.